Well, hello there, Tierra.
Hi, beautiful.
Hillary Sepulveda Brown here, interviewing my lovely sister goddess, Tierra Womack.
So excited for this.
Me too. And we're just going to have a little conversation about worth today.
Let's do it.
I mean, it's so important, I know all the time so many people wake up every day and struggle in their worth. And especially worth around finances, their jobs, their relationships.
hmm
What is it that you bring to the table? I mean, what does that mean to you around worth, Tiara?
For me, I would say my personal journey with worth, it's first of all, worth seems so complex in regards to the concept of it because it's so abstract. So I'm like, okay, for me, worth equates to your values or the perceived value. We all have heard, or I know I've heard that diamonds value is based off of the perception, right? That's given to it. It's worth tens of thousands of dollars and millions of dollars due to someone putting that perceived value on it. So when it comes to our own perceived value of ourselves, I find that it boils down to what's important to us. And to me, that just seems very massive. So I would just say, my thing is, I was at a point in my life when I really started to even grasp that term of worth and hear that term of worth when I was starting or looking at rebuilding after leaving a narcissistic, my second narcissistic abusive relationship.
Mhm.
And I didn't feel worthy to rebuild, which I feel like is what kept me in that relationship for so long because of fear, right? Of
Oh,
what looked
good now.
like,
I can relate to this.
you know what I'm saying? So it's like
Yeah,
when
I'm saying.
yeah, so I realize looking back now and working with the clients who are in similar situations is you have that seven-figure business, you have this seven-figure lifestyle, then you're miserable in your own home, and you can only stay in those types of abusive relationships when your sense of worth is nil. So for me, that's my journey with worth and saying, you know what, at some point I had to have the courage to believe that I could rebuild, which led to me feeling worthy enough to take those steps to rebuild and leave the relationship. So that's been my
That's so great. Thank you so much for sharing that. And in that, just hearing what you said, did you have an aha moment of worth, or was it a slow build of that courage to get to that moment where I mean, did you just look in the mirror one day and say, "Yeah, I'm worth it. I'm the goddess. Here I stand, and now I need to change," or did it come slowly for you?
very slowly. I feel like the journey of transformation, for me, I thought I was being led by confidence.
Okay.
Right. And like feeling like, you know what, there's light at the end of this tunnel. Like I'm in a dark type of relationship right now, but I know I'm meant for more, built for more. And that is what my inheritance is, this inheritance of prosperity. So that's what was my driver in leaving. But it was never this word of worth. Worth seems very foreign to me. And I started listening to, there was a conversation Louise Hay had around worth. And I was
Love.
just like, what is this? Like worth? Okay. Didn't even really know the term. That wasn't part of my vocabulary, but I'm like, there's something to this word. And eventually it's led me to understand that, for myself, you can be confident in rebuilding. You can be confident in being wealthy even, right? But you have to feel worthy to maintain the wealth, to maintain that level of confidence, to aspire to live the life that you dream of. So for me, it was a very slow and still is a continuous process of understanding that worth.
Yeah, it really is, right? It's a master class of worth,
I
and
love that.
I can understand the word because we hear about being worthy growing up and worthiness, and there really isn't in our generation down. There isn't a lot of talk about worthy, and I know for me, understanding that worthiness was also my value
hmm
and the value I put on myself
That's it.
was huge.
That's it. I mean, and that's how it becomes simplified. Because just this concept, like I said, of worth is like, what does this mean? Is it a feeling? Is it a thing? Is it a thought? Is it a belief? And it's like, no, it is your value. What is that value that you hold? Obviously, my value was more monetary at the time that I was in those relationships because I couldn't have valued myself enough to stay. So I was compromising my values for a lifestyle because that's kind of perceived from society, and I fell right into it, chasing that dollar.
Understandably, right. I mean, that's why we coin here in the U.S. the American dream, which
Mhm.
not everybody watching this interview is going to be from this country, but we have that false sense of what is valuable and what to put worth on here. And so, I guess my question to you is, what was it? What was that final moment like it for you when you realized your worth, or at least enough of your worth to leave that relationship and shift your lifestyle around your value?
There was one poignant moment I can say that really was transformational for me, and I was walking with my two young sons in this you know, beautiful manicured lawn neighborhood. And we were walking to school, and I'm speaking to all the PTA, and I'm on the board, and it's like, hey, hey, all that. And I walk back home, and I literally burst into tears walking through the door. Like I was just sick of being fake. I was
Mhm.
just sick of, like, I was literally dying inside. And I just remember crying and just like miserable. And at that moment, though, it's so interesting because in that deep moment of pain and sorrow, it was almost like I heard a voice, and it's like, you're it was more of a feeling, but if I had to put it into words, it's more like you're gonna be okay, right? It wasn't those exact words, but it's like you're gonna be okay. Like, and not only a little okay, but like extremely okay. Like you're gonna be more than okay. So then I was like, yeah, like why am I allowing myself to stay in this type of environment when I know that I am meant to flourish and impact on a greater level? And then I was like, you know what? I thought about all the things that really scare me about leaving and scare me about pursuing my dreams, and I was like, you know what? I just have to make the step. So that's when I started those steps. But that for me was like I said, I didn't know the word yet, but I knew there was something going on that didn't quite equate what I
Right. I
was
agree.
feeling and experiencing and living and what I know was inside of me. And like I said, that inheritance of prosperity for me, my dream is that, to be that nine-figure mompreneur that has healthy relationships and has balance in all those various areas of my life while impacting and serving on a
Right.
massive level. And I'm like, I can't do that in here. I can't do that walking, being phony with these, neighborhood with the PTA and everything, and then going home and crying. That just diminishes your soul.
Yes, as a mom, I hear everything in very loudly in my soul as you're
Hmm.
telling your story, Tierra.
Yeah.
And tell me, as a mom as well, I know, I have children and you have two boys, you mentioned finding that worth and that self-worth, the value within yourself in that moment forward. How has that changed how you mother and maybe even how you see your boys seeing you?
I literally love that question because they both are my why, right? For why I strive to be as massively impactful as I can, but also um I say a minuscule part of that is for them to never see me compromise my values. I literally have that written down. When it comes to my wives, for my babies to never see me compromise my values for a lifestyle.
Integrity,
Yeah.
integrity, right? Integrity for everybody watching that doesn't know. Integrity is when you do the right thing and no one else is watching or seeing you. You're just
Mm-hmm.
embodying that all the time. So I love
Yeah.
that you're doing that for not only for yourself, but for your boys.
For them babies.
And do you comment on the new self-worth shining through you? Do they see you different? Do they tell you?
You know what? It's not been a conversation, but I can just see the pride in them as they watch me rebuild because I've been an entrepreneur all of their lives in various industries. So it's like when they saw me at bottom after, coming from what they only knew is this really kind of lavish lifestyle, and then they're watching mommy rebuild, and then the sense of pride that I see, or when they're asking, well, what are you doing now, or this book, or what are you working on, I'm like, it just pushes me to continue to be that example for them and show them, like, listen, we can live how we desire to live without compromising, and I just hope that they carry that into adulthood too.
Yes, dear. I love that. I love that they come in and they ask you what you're working on, and it's
Yes.
an opportunity to have that open communication between them about not just your worth, but for them to grow up knowing theirs as well.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I say, those relationships produced my two beautiful babies and allowed me to experience transformation in such a way that they now incorporate it into their life and the various things that I've learned. And I think that's such a blessing because this is the lifetime when all that generational BS and all the other things that I allowed in ends. Buck stops
I
here.
love it. Shedding that skin, are you?
Mm-hmm.
I
Yes, ma'am.
totally loving that so much. Yes. So in the areas of worth and in your life, what
Mhm.
would you say is maybe the was the most challenging area around worth, right? We have like our typical four areas in our lives. We have our love and our relationships, we have
Mhm.
our career and our money, right? Our health and our wellness and
Mhm.
our creative expression and how we really show ourselves to the world.
Mhm.
Were any of those more challenging than others in discovering your worth?
I would say it's a combination of relationship, but really relationship with myself,
Mhm.
and then also the money and finances, only because that's what kept me stuck in that relationship, or in those relationships, right? So then, therefore, I had to really feel courageous and brave enough to say, I can rebuild. I know this standard that I hold for myself and that I have for my children. And I believe that I can rebuild to that capacity on my own and be supported by the divine in every area that I need in order to make that happen. And in fact, that is, like I always say, that is my claim, my inheritance, so therefore I'm just tapping into that. So it took me really reflecting and holding a mirror to those limiting beliefs, because you have such a distorted view of yourself. And then, I feel like anyone that has to rebuild, you're looking at it. When you have to rebuild, it's not like you're just shifting. Rebuilding means something happened in your life that you were unaware of, that you didn't anticipate or plan. Those relationships, I didn't think they were going to end up how they did. And so it's like when you have to pivot, having the lens on those limiting beliefs that can make you do a pivot in a very small fashion, or say, you know what, that's the best thing that happened to me. Let me see what I can pivot into that's on a massive scale. So,
I love but as you were saying that, I was thinking about building because you were talking about building, and it's so true. It's not about destroying the limiting beliefs because so much of the time we've just built this whatever a beautiful home or a life, but it's got the limited belief in the pipe system. Let's say it's old cast iron pipes,
yeah,
you know,
with
lead
lead.
or
Yep.
other things.
Lead poisoning.
Beautiful home all around it. We just have to replace all those pipes, right? And those are those
Yes.
limiting beliefs. And I asked you that um, because I was hearing you, and I know you're an entrepreneur, and you always have been.
Mhm.
And as have I. So I've had very few jobs for other people, and around my business, I've never felt a lack of worth.
Mhm.
But once I realized that my spiritual work was actually part of my business work,
Mhm.
I realized where that lack of worth was within my business.
Mm.
You know,
Wow.
and
Yep.
yeah, just curious for you if there was any type like that or an epiphany, because I just know for sorry, it's tea time, so I'm drinking my tea
Yeah.
over
Enjoy
well,
that tea.
or
Yeah.
it's my afternoon tea. And it really is, right? Because so oftentimes in business, I know for myself, I've had some really successful business and some huge business failures. And when I look back at that, I can see my self-worth as a businesswoman. But
Mhm,
if my relationship wasn't on point or anything else out in my life outside of that business, I lost my worth. And therefore
mhm,
my business would start to fail
mhm,
because I was looking outside, right? I was looking for my worth from my successful business. So
yep,
anytime my business wasn't successful, I lost my self-worth. And
mhm.
I know, in regards to you teaching and coaching and around worth and business and money, do you have any tips for me or for anyone else watching today around
Yes. You
worth
know,
and business?
yeah, the first thing that I would say is just really understanding what is that future version of yourself
Mhm.
that scares you, that future version of yourself that is living the life that you dream about, you aspire, but you feel like is outside of your reach for some reason. And then to sit down and I actually just jot down 5 to 10 reasons why I think I can't live that life and
Okay.
go through the visioning of it all. Like, what, how does that woman show up every day? What are her beliefs about herself? How confident is she? What do her relationships look like with herself, others, and money?
I
Like,
love
what
your
does that look like?
self. You're giving yourself a worthy workshop.
Exactly, exactly. But then, what was important for me and the exercise I take my clients through too is to jot down those beliefs. Like even while you're sitting there and you're envisioning and it feels good and you're like, oh, I would love that. And then it's like, yeah, but your businesses, you know, they
Right.
fail, they thrive and they fail, or, your relationships aren't good, or you don't know how to hire, or whatever those things are.
Mhm.
I just make inventory so that therefore I can become aware. And it's not even so much to just say, oh, you have to shift and all these shift to empowering beliefs and all those things. Yes, eventually we get there. But the first thing is to become aware and
Yes.
be proud and excited when you say, oh, wait, I was just thinking that, because so many times we go through life and it's automatic. We
Yeah.
don't even realize that we're having that belief. So just the simple fact that you can become aware, pat yourself on the back.
Love it. Okay.
Yeah.
But and I had the opportunity to speak with you this week earlier, and when you were saying that, I was remembering the Liger conversation that we had.
Like her.
And the Liger, right? Because we just like you're saying, we think, okay, step into our power like it's so easy, and we prepare ourselves to step into our power and our worth. And when it shows up, it's like, oh my God, it's not a cat,
Yeah,
it's a
it's a
liger.
liger.
And that's not what I said. I said my power is soft and furry and fits in my arms, right? When in
Yep.
truth, right, it's as big as,
Yes.
and knowing our worth allows us to open that door and just say, come on in,
Come on in.
it's a
Tribe
per
of ligers.
yep, yep, come on in. All of the ligers can come in, the whole family, right?
Yes.
And that's just knowing our worth. Man,
Hmm.
it's just so wonderful to sit here and talk to you and hear all of your wisdom. I wish we had an exuberant amount of time.
I know. I know Leanne will kill us
I
because I could
know.
talk to you all night.
We keep going. I'm reeling off other things. Take two.
Yeah.
But I do want to just say thank you. Thank you for letting
Yes.
me, talk to you and just to having our little afternoon tea and conversation. Because we
Yes.
are the butterflies that we're
Oh,
to
love
be.
butterflies. Yes.
Out of
Yes.
the list of worthlessness and into a butterfly of worthiness we fly.
Amen to that. Ashe. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much. Yes. So
Yes.
Tierra Womack over here with her thoughts on being worthy and signing off with Hillary Sepulveda Brown.
So much love. Thank you.
Thank you. Mm.